bipolar mother, alcoholic father. I have siblings, but with my borderline, and I don't know why, I actually don't have them in my memory. My memory is just me and my mother and occasionally my father in the picture. That's my memory. So um, I'm basically disowned from my family. My parents are gone, unfortunately, but my siblings that are tight push everything under the carpet. This happened in the past. It's not who made you. But to be honest, I'm not unhappy about my childhood because it's made me into the person I am today. I've turned my pain into purpose. So the project I've moved all around the world. I've lived in Canada. You're not aware of this. I actually lived in Edmonton for 8 years. Yeah, yeah. I was married to a guy and two kids, so I had an instant family. So I've done a lot of things. I believed I had borderline really early in life, but with borderline, I think a lot of the things that make it easy is communication. So in the olden days, you're a lot younger than me, but in the olden days, people communicated. We weren't texting on our phones. We talked, we listened, we heard. So when it comes to borderline and emotional intensity, if you're having a great conversation and that person's listening and mirroring you, the borderline doesn't really show as much. It just shows, oh, this guy has a great personality. He's open, he's bubbly. But now today, and I only got diagnosed 8 years ago, communication's changed. People don't listen. People don't take the time. They think they don't have the time. But come on, guys. If we had the time in those days, why don't we have the time now? People are just lazy, I think. People just think about themselves too often. And it's sad for the world.
Do you
But
think that some people are just too busy to care about other people's situations?
yes, yes, they're more worried what's going on in the world, but we can't. At the end of the day, we can't change what's going on in the world. We really can't. So why worry about it? We only have one life to live. Let's get on with everybody.
You mentioned that you were disowned by your parents. How did that happen? And when it happened, how did you feel?
Okay. Well, it wasn't. So, as I said, as I've mentioned, beforehand, I'm a gay man. So, because when I grew up as a child, I became a carer before I became an adult. So, most of the time in my memory, all I can see is my mother in the heights of mania. There was actually a period in my younger teens, my mother was that bad. And I actually hit my mother with a frying pan. I needed her to be quiet. My brain was just overloaded. She was so high, and it was like, oh my God, stop, stop, stop. Believe it or not, my father tried to have me charged with that. But of course, that was laughed out of court. That's like, how could you leave a child in that situation? It was just unbelievable. So you'll have to remind me of the question again. I knew where I was going. Sorry, Terrain.
No, that's okay. It's because you shared like your childhood of growing up and you shared some of the experience that you had. You mentioned that you were disowned. How did that happen and how did you feel about it at that time?
Okay. Okay. So basically, as I was talking about being gay, so I didn't come out in the normal sense because I was basically angry at my parents because I didn't get the childhood I needed. It was like, excuse me, fuck you, I'm gay. So, and also my father was a compulsive gambler. That actually came into play in my early teens. I got addicted to gambling. So I was stealing. I was trying to get attention. I ended up attracting the wrong crowd, breaking into houses. At the age of about 20, I was out of home by then. I was shown out of home for the gambling. I actually ended up living with my grandmother and stealing off my grandmother to support my gambling habit. Ended up in jail. haven't been in trouble with the law since because it was just like a wake up call for me. So, yeah, being disowned by my parents, I really didn't have parents to be disowned by, if that makes sense.
It does because so many people grow up, Denis, with adverse childhood experiences, as some people call it ACEs. Some people grow up with both parents in the house, so they're physically there, but emotionally and mentally they are not. It's like you're just living with strangers. It's even worse than having roommates. At least roommates will say, "Hi, how are you doing?" every once in a while, where these parents say nothing, right? And then some other people have very good childhoods. Some people have abusive ones, whether it's physical, verbal, or emotional. When you look back on what you went through and the borderline personality disorder, do you think that there was a link between the two?
Well, I actually think it can um, be in your genes because when I look back at my childhood, and especially a conversation I had with my father before he passed of dementia, I'm pretty sure that he had borderline as well. Because it actually makes sense. Because in my adult years, people that I attracted had bipolar, like my mother. So the caring thing in there. And I found out that my father, even though he was getting recognized as things, didn't accept that. And up until that day, I get recognized as things and I don't accept it. I don't trust it enough. And it's really funny. The mental illness of bipolar, schizophrenia, was all in my mother's side of my family. As far as I know, to my grandmother, so it could have gone back further, was just in the women's side. I'm wondering where the borderline is in my father's side of the family because my father had it. I don't have connections with my brothers. I actually have no idea what. I'm sure they've been affected by it, but I have no idea what their mental state is. So yeah, it's very interesting.
It is because when you think about some of the things that we struggle with as people, our emotions are such a focal point in our lives. When it came to the intensity of some of the emotions that you felt, would you like to share how some of them maybe led you down one path or another path?
Well, my emotions can lead to what they call splitting. So I can love someone intensely and I can flip in a second to hate. The reason being is it's not something they've intentionally done. So I talk a lot about accountability. There are a lot of people out there, when we split, they say we're monsters. We can't, why did we do that? But it's just like going to a doctor and having a knee jerk reaction, like the hammer on your knee. It's immediate. So, and it could be something they've shown you, a word that's unlocked something in your childhood trauma. So it's not. So we, of course, we feel a lot of guilt towards it, but when it comes to accountability, that needs to be changed. It's not our fault. So when people attack us for it, they've got to understand it's like when people are dealing with something like that, I say it like this: look at us like a child, but talk to us like an adult, if that makes sense.
Can you give us an example of how someone will do that? You've intrigued me, my friend.
Okay, so if you're talking to a child, you're not going to attack them because they're having a meltdown, are you?
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to
Yes,
be
exactly.
compassionate with care.
Yes, yes. So that's what we want you to be, but also don't speak to us like a child because that's not going to get anywhere. Speak to us like an adult, but with the compassion of you talking to a child.
So, if I understand correctly, we want to show care, compassion, not control, right? Because
Yes,
we don't want to come from that kind of place, but also we don't want to patronize the person, right? And maybe talk down to them like a child or an infant. We still want to show them the respect that they should get because they're functioning adults, but we also want to make sure that we're not judging them or we're not maybe looking down on whatever identity that they're presenting.
Yeah, like not saying you understand, or just you can say something like, "I know you're going through something bad. Is there something I can do?" That is the best thing to say to someone who's going through a splitting.
What is splitting for those who may not know?
Basically, reacting to a trauma, to a past trauma. It may be something we're aware of or something we're not aware of, because traumas are locked away. So basically, this is based in the cortex. So we all have parts of our brain. We have negative, positive, and as I've learned from the years, is they all work together. The negative and the positive are both good. They're all working to the greater. But unfortunately, with BPD, that part of the brain takes over.
Denny, for me, I don't think this is something that I'm experienced, but I may have known people along the way in my life that have.
Yep.
So, for someone like myself and many others who want to become an ally of those who have borderline personality disorder, what are maybe some of the ways that we could identify it so we understand what that person is going through? And to your point, we don't necessarily mistreat them either intentionally or unintentionally.
Oh, that's a good question. How do you identify it? Look, there are so many traits when it comes to borderline. Like, especially with myself, I'm one of the rare cases I don't actually have the depression. That could be because of my mother. I basically have something built in my brain thinking I never want to be like that. So it's like my brain stops me from going any further. So, yeah, look, clinical questions I'm not really good with, because that's fairly clinical on how to maybe word that a different way, Terrain, because I don't know how to answer that without being clinical, and I don't look at it from a clinical point of view.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely rephrase it. So, Train's walking down the street. He meets one of his friends, and his friends have BPD, but I'm not
Yep.
aware of it.
Yep.
Right? So I can be more understanding and still integrate that friendship because I don't want to treat the person any differently. I still want to show them compassion, love, and care. Um,
Yep.
maybe what are some of the let's put the onus on me. What is it that I can do to be an ally? Let's look at it from that way.
Okay, because if you walk down the street and you met me, you wouldn't know I was BPD. You can It's not a visible disability. This is something that can come further down the track. So personally, with me, I trust people straight away. Though I have severe trust issues, the closer you get to me, the least I trust you. Because of course, my parents, the people that I was supposed to, who I'm close to, that I was supposed to trust, destroyed that. So I still don't know how to answer that question correctly, because you won't know straight away by meeting someone in the street. I will give you an example of how trust goes. So let's say you became my friend and we were texting, and it was a weekly thing, with text, text, text. That suddenly changed. You didn't text me for 2 weeks. I would go into panic mode. I would think, I've done something wrong. You're now abandoning me. That can also be if we're in the middle of a text conversation and something comes up and you walk away from your phone and you say nothing, you don't say goodbye, you don't say you're busy, that would also affect me. I would think you're abandoning me. So it's all so okay. Now I've come to you. Now by going through that, it's about being consistent.
Who has to be
And
consistent?
yeah,
Me, you, or both?
you no, both being consistent. Well, if we have a split, we can forget you. It doesn't matter about you, but you you need to be consistent with me, with us. Just about consistency. If you're doing something weekly, continue it. If you can't, say I'm going to be doing something. And I don't think it's that hard to be consistent with someone. In a relationship, aren't you consistent? If you in a normal relationship, if something changes, normal people question that. We just have the heightened intensity that we question it harder.
That's tough because what's consistency to me may not be consistency to you. And you mentioned
Yeah,
communication, right? Communication for a lot of people is their kryptonite. They
yeah,
just can't communicate well because as children, we're taught how to speak, say ah, say they, say mom, say dad. But we're not taught how to communicate our emotions effectively or even in any form for many of us. So I understand, I can look at from what I know about you, and I can understand what consistency means to you because I believe I'm a pretty good judge of character. For some people who lack self awareness or awareness at all, they may think that they're being consistent, but they may be offensive.
yeah. I'm trying to get my head around that one. So, yeah, no, I don't understand how consistency could be offensive. Explain that a different way.
Absolutely. So let's take a romantic relationship because I think everyone can understand what consistency means in that. I text my partner every morning, good morning, like
Mm-hmm.
clockwork, right? So day one to day 100, that's consistent behavior because every morning they expect that good morning.
Yep,
Now, someone could say that, okay, instead of that, I'm consistently saying something to my partner, whether it's a text or hello in person, whatever the case is, but you got accustomed, or my partner got accustomed to the morning text. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they get that morning text. Thursday, Friday, they don't because maybe I'm going to call them instead of texting them.
yep.
So now I'm wondering, is the consistency in that it has to be a similar channel, the text message, or is it as long as I'm communicating with them in the morning, that's sufficient, regardless of the medium?
That's sufficient. No, that's sufficient. No, that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. It's just about keeping that communication open, that door open, knowing that that person is there for you.
Perfect. Okay. Because that would explain it because I I've dated some woman where it's like, I want the text message, not the phone call. It's like, well, I'm still being consistent. So, I just want to
No,
make
no,
sure that they didn't
no.
have BPD, right? Because maybe they did and I just didn't know.
Oh my God, I couldn't deal doing that all the time. Come on. But then again, with my work, I have to do 2 videos a day. I have to do that consistently. Otherwise, people get upset. But yes, I get that.
Our emotions. I know that's
Yeah.
something that you shared with me in our green room that can be more intense for those who have borderline personality disorder. Is that accurate to say?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's more intense, can you maybe give an example of that intensity for those who may or may not know, including myself?
Okay, if you're angry at someone, like you control what you say to them. You want to say something. We will say it, if that makes sense. So you're angry at someone, you just no, 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 not well, not dealing with it. We will just blurt it.
Okay, so
So
now
we,
you're making
so
me.
I think, so
No,
I
I
think
was I
it's
was gonna
some.
say just to piggyback off of that, I would say it too. So now I understand what you mean, but continue, please.
I think sometimes that it's people could wish they could say what we say. Because when I get annoyed at someone, it's not, I haven't imagined it. These people have disrespected me and I will put them in their place. So, in some ways, though the words could be changed, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm protecting myself, respecting my space. And that is actually getting stronger now with the work I'm doing with BPD Raw. I don't let anyone destroy my voice. And everyone should be able, I believe in everyone having their own voice. Like when people say they can't sing. Who told you you can't sing? You're singing. Just because someone doesn't like it doesn't mean you can't.
Okay, I think I understand. Your voice is important to you, and because maybe you have past experiences from your childhood, there's a silence here, but now you're full control of your voice and no one will silence it. Thus, if you're experiencing something, you will share it, good, bad, or indifferent.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I've been
Is
open to
that,
everybody. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna
Is
say, is
that
that consistent with those who have BPD?
no, no. I think you have to find your place. I'm 58 years old. If I think about it, I've always had a voice, but people have been able to silence me. Um, it just hit the point because about 3 years ago, I found my perfect job and it ended up in discrimination. And even though it was found in my favor, they wouldn't admit fault. But me being me, I went to the CEO of that company and I said, look, can we have a discussion? Not about me, but so this doesn't happen in your organization again. And he said no. And that just lit the fire under my ass. And I thought, okay, no, 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 no. This is so wrong. I don't understand someone in this big business doesn't want to learn from their mistakes because they have to go through court. So obviously something went wrong and he didn't want to talk to me. And I thought, no, okay. So then shortly after that, I joined borderline personality groups. And then shortly after that, I started my BPD Raw, and it's just grown significantly in a short period of time because what I also want to share is on those BPD groups when I talk about voices, there's a lot of support groups on Facebook and their support, and I get it. But people will have their truth and put up a post. But when you're dealing with people with mental illness and splitting and triggers, they will say something in that post that will trigger someone. So they will make a comment on that post, and then it turns toxic. Though you have a lot of positive comments on that post, that toxic person would shut that person down and would make them want to not speak anymore. So that's why I created BPD Raw to create a space where you're not getting that immediate attack. Because then these people know that they are getting listened to because they're getting a lot of positive. But when you get that little negative, and we hear the stigmas and everything all the time, it makes them be quiet. So I'm now allowing that space for them to speak again.
So where you found courage, maybe they found guilt, shame?
Yes, yeah. Because since I've started this group, I haven't had a lot of attacks. I've had people try to shut me down, and I'm now living with that. I'm fine with it now. I just ignore. But yeah, it's just um, yeah. Sorry, the words went completely out of my head then.
Well, I would say that it's, I've always thought to myself, and maybe I should do some research on this, is that if you give someone a situation such as yourself that you just described, some people will pull courage out of that situation and be consumed by it and inspired by it, and they will, be empowered. No one will silence my voice anymore. And then some of the people will find shame, guilt, anxiety. For the groups that you're a part of, what role do you think shame and guilt plays in those with borderline personality disorder?
I think that people get stuck on the stigmas because what I found is these people that were writing their stories before and trying to get support on their posts, the next time they would post, they would wear the labels that people are giving them. They would write, they're crazy, they're narcissistic. So I, you're going to have to ask that question again.
That's
I'm
okay.
building on it. Yeah,
Yeah, when like because you've said there's so many groups that you're a part of and you're creating something beautiful as well. You found the courage, and some other people will pull courage from their situation, but some people will be consumed by the guilt, by the shame of what they're actually going through, and as you put it, the labels. How do you
yeah.
think guilt and shame impacts those who have borderline personality disorder?
Well, I think because of me, I have so much self awareness, and so what I feel is one of the reasons that I may get attacked and people feel that guilt and shame is because they suffer the depression. So they go into the lows. I've had a lot of people saying, yes, I want to support this. So excited in the beginning. And this was months ago. And I don't hear from them again. Even though they're part of my page, I don't hear from them again. So I think it's part of that as well, that they are maybe a bit jealous that they can't get past that. Maybe they are angry at me. Oh, you have borderline, but you don't have this. This isn't fair. Or maybe they're questioning that I have borderline because so many people suffer the downs, which I don't have.
Your spirit irritates their demons?
Yeah, maybe. And it's really difficult because even today I was looking on messages I've sent to people who said they were going to write a story for my book. And we'll talk about the book in a bit. Um, and they were so excited at the beginning, and I sent a message, and then I waited another month. I sent them another message. They've looked at the messages, but they haven't said anything. And because I don't go into that space, though I feel a lot of empathy, I don't know whether to say anything else or just let it go because I feel bad that if I end up publishing the book and they haven't put the letter in and they come back to me. So it's like I struggle personally with that because I don't know what to say to them without feeling pushy. Because I want everyone to be involved. I want everyone to have a voice. I'm excited, or I just, yeah.
You mentioned BPD Raw. What is that, and what impact do you want it to have on those involved?
Okay, so BPD Raw is basically stripping away the clinical labels and harnessing our superpowers. Because at the end of the day, if you have someone that is understanding in your corner, what is wrong with having higher emotions? Could you imagine the love that would bring? When we love so deeply. And if you're in our corner and understand our splitting and everything at the same time, that love is going to be beautiful, unimaginable. The romantic stories of all time. So now I lost my train of thought again. So BPD Raw was basically brought about from I visited a pop-up shop in New York many years ago that was called the Strangers Project. So it's basically a shop with letters on a wall. So like those letters that you see, like the posts on Facebook, people can see them, comment. You can't comment on these. So these are letters of hope, dismay, lost love, even suicide letters. So people can read this and they can't comment. So it's affecting people in different ways. People are feeling joy, hurt, sadness. I walked out of that shop terrain. I still had goosebumps. My face was wet from tears. It was so powerful. I didn't realize at that time it would turn into BPD Raw. So now what I'm doing is I'm collecting these letters. They're going to go in a book. So these will be for therapists to help understand lived experience. Because with therapy, I'm 58 years old. I've had all the therapy. Though I'm sure it planted some seeds in my brain and gave me the tools, but it never worked. People talking to people who've lived experience and doing this project now and hearing the stories, that is what is helping me. There are so many organizations around BPD that are all clinically based. I I have a great supporter of my group who's the president of the Australian BPD Foundation, but because my letters are not clinically based, the group can't support my book. So all there needs to be an organization, especially around BPD, when we're dealing with emotions. Emotions are lived experience. So we need more lived experience for BPD.
Do you think some people are afraid of emotions, especially the intense ones, as you describe them?
Exactly, because so many people, especially when it comes to males, lots of family males, you don't talk about your emotions, you don't cry, you don't do this. So yes, yeah, because I'll be honest with you, 95% of the letters are from females. Men don't talk. Though I've had a lot of men that want to, they get stuck in their ways and they don't send me the letters. But yeah, I'm out to change that. There's nothing wrong with speaking. And look, as I said to in the green room, I'm now doing podcasts, and my podcasts are pretty raw, and people love that. People don't want to hear clinical.
Well, you're taking those who are misunderstood and you give them understanding.
Yes,
How does that feel?
it feels great. I wake up happy in the morning now. Like I used to just sit in front of telly and just munch on food and stuff. I go, oh, what's it? What's in my inbox today? What's this? What's that? Oh, let's do another video.
Do you think then there are certain triggers that in our life that cause reactions that we wish we could control and they weren't triggers?
You may need to reword it a different way.
Absolutely. So many of us have triggers in our life, either from our childhood, from experience, whatever the case is. Do you think that some of the triggers that we have, we wish that they weren't triggers and we can actually control them?
Well, I wish I could control my splitting, but that's something I can't. But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to controlling triggers, it's very much in the brain chemistry. I don't know whether in Canada you've heard of TMS therapy. You have. I'll be honest, that's the only thing that actually stopped my splitting. So when it comes to what causes BPD, it's the brain chemistry, because when I was having TMS all throughout the treatment, no splitting, no triggers, and I actually went from 5 hours of sleeping with nightmares to no nightmares and 8 hours of sleeping, because it re-triggered the brain chemistry.
Yeah, it's the
So they talk
magnetic
about, yeah,
pulses, right? That can help
yeah,
you to relax in different ways.
yes. Did that answer your question?
It did, and now when you mention TMS, for those who may not know, it's like it's a magnetic stimulation, sorry, of your. I think you, if I remember correctly, you put it on your scalp, and then it's pulses, and then it helps you with anxiety and to self soothe. It's like what some people, parents, will tell their children. It's the bottle within, but this is how you calm yourself down. And you mentioned that you went through that and it was actually helpful for you.
Yes, yes. And also the other thing that helped me, and you're probably aware of psychedelic treatments, is MDMA. I like, of course, mine was a street version, so I'd still have the effects of when you had it, you feel ill and stuff like that. But once it hit me, if you were to look at me, you would just thought I would be a normal, effervescent person. And I hate the word normal. I didn't look off my dial, as I say. I would approach people and talk to them. When I'm not on that, I wouldn't do that. I would be like this in public. So that was a game changer for me. They're doing trials with that, with psychedelics, with mushrooms and stuff in Australia. But unfortunately, because of the bipolar in my family tree, that discounts me from the trials. Though they're looking into changing that, because not one thing fits all, because I don't have the mania. So they were just worried about that. So that would be a game changer for me to have the medical version of MDMA for myself.
I think some people struggle with that. They see something online and they think, well, this is going to fit me. And when it doesn't, they get down on themselves. Maybe they suffer
Yeah.
depression, maybe they suffer anxiety. But there's so many tools out there. I give the example of, for those who watch comics, Batman and Batman and his tool belt, right? Like he has something in that tool belt for a different occasion. Think about it as there's something in your tool belt for a different person. What works for me may not work for Denis and so many other people. But there's something I want to ask you, Denny, if I may ask you this one final question, but I want to give you three wishes for this question. Okay.
Okay.
What are
I've
three
got my
things?
magic lamp.
There you go, Aladdin's genie lamp. What are three things you wish you could change in the world when it comes to understanding BPD and why?
Three things I could change in the world: communication, better communication. Um, I can't think of another two. Um, country, this is a bit out there. Countries worrying about other countries, like when it comes to wars and stuff. I don't understand. I'm not a war person. Let's look after our own. Because once we look after our own and that is under control, we can look after others. Because when you go out of your own space, you're not looking after your own. You understand what I'm saying? And the third thing, um, empathy for people, because you've never lived in their shoes. Like, I have empathy for everyone, and that's, I'm going to be honest here, murderers, child abusers. You have not walked in their shoes. If they're getting help and trying to better themselves, who are we to judge?